What's up guys, hey, it's Mark Lane. I want to bring you out to this house to show you really like what a prehab is, right? Like, I don't know, I'm not sure if you know that term, but a prehab means we rehab it to less than like new condition, right? So normally we're taking a house that's in pretty good condition and giving it just a little bit of a facelift without going above and beyond and like redoing everything in the house. So in this one, the story behind this is I had bought it about a year ago. We had held it as a rental property, and the market has picked up and we decided to sell it, right? So instead of making 150 bucks a month, we decided to turn it into a $30,000 profit. So I'm going to take you through, I'm going to show you like why we're doing the different things that we're doing and kind of like the reasoning behind it, so you guys can understand like when you're out doing this, when it makes sense to not do a full rehab, because there are those times, right? Most of the time we are doing a full rehab, but sometimes we do ones like this, which is called prehab, right? So in this case, as you can see here, like with the windows, so the windows are all very functional, right? They all open, they all close, without a lot of problems. If they didn't open well, then we would replace them. But in this case, they open, they close, there's no broken glass, any of that kind of stuff. And like all the trim work around it is in really good condition. And if maybe you want to paint over, like shoot the base trim, base trim's all the same way. It's the exact same color as the casing, and it's all in great condition. And so we need to freshen up the color of it just a little bit. We can apply like what's called a shellac to that just to pull the color out. But all the doors, all the trim, the cabinets, they're all this older kind of golden oak type of wood. So instead, like normally we would take all that off and replace it all, right? In this case, we're keeping it all because it's in such great condition that just doesn't make sense. So what we're going to do instead, just to kind of cover up the old window, right, is we're just going to put on some cheap mini blinds. It costs about $5 from Home Depot or a Walmart or something, and we'll put it on the outside. We'll cover up almost the entire window. So by adding mini blinds, it kind of covers up the ugly and gives it that fresh, almost kind of new look with almost no cost to it. Another thing we do is we do this no matter if it's a full rehab or if it's a prehab, is we replace all of the switches, all of the outlets with a nice fresh white. That gives the illusion of update. Okay, so we didn't update the electrical service, it's fine, it's suitable, but giving that cosmetic update of the switches, of the outlets, gives the illusion of an updated system. Okay, same thing with the vents, like we replace those, so that's taking out all the old ugly dingy vents that were there before and putting in new. Again, those cost 8 to 10 bucks a piece, very, very little cost. And we did, it's gonna be hard to get on camera, but we did do a paint job of the entire house, of just the walls. So we kept all the ceilings. Ceilings were in really good condition. There's a little bit more of a yellow tint to it than what I would like, but it's okay. And we got a new fresh paint job on the walls. So then we replaced the ceiling fan, and we want to update that, and we tried to find something with a blade color as close to the wood color as possible. Let's see here, bathroom. So in the bathroom here, what we did is we took the old tub, this is the same old tub that was there before, and we sprayed it with a white epoxy, okay? So that way it gives the illusion of looking new and clean. And then we added this white shower surround, okay? So this costs about $180. Got this from Menards, and gives it a nice clean look. I mean, it's dirty right now, but so we got that in there, and then we'll replace the shower hardware, okay? So it'll have the illusion of a pretty like nice new shower for very, very little cost. And then all of this tile, I want to make sure it wasn't wet. All this tile was, it's this 4-inch tile, but it was kind of like the old ivory color. So we we did an epoxy over this and just painted it, left it, so now it's nice bright white, matches everything else. So then in the bedroom, again, they're consistent with the rest of the house. All we really did in the bedrooms is simply replace the lights, and then did the same thing, you know, paint, changed out the outlets, the switches, the vents, and everything else is staying. Oh, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but we did refinish the floors. So that was, when we peeled up the carpet, there was, you know, the old like pad and glue residue that was stuck to it that we couldn't get up very well. So that pretty much made us like have to finish the floors. But for the $1,600 it took us to do this, we'll certainly get that back, because that kind of gives it the like new feel, right? When people come in, they're gonna see this new amazing flooring and fall in love with it. So that was definitely worth spending the money on. And then another thing that we did is, so in the kitchen and in the bathroom, we didn't want to have to peel up the entire flooring, like pull up the subfloor, all that kind of stuff. So we kept the subfloor and added a new underlayment to it, right? A 1/4 inch underlayment. And then we added this on top of it. So this is a vinyl sticky tile. Okay, so this actually just sticks right on top of that that new paneling, or new, like it's called Luan plywood. This just sticks right on top of it. So as you can see here, all this is done and it looks great, right? It looks like a new floor, and once we have the transition strips on here, it's gonna look fantastic. So these are actually a little bit expensive, but the time and the labor cost is extremely low, because you know, somebody can lay a whole floor in a matter of a couple hours. So this helps cut down the cost dramatically. And the other reason that we use this is because, as you can see here, we already have a pretty noticeable size difference. Okay, I mean that's probably at least a 1/2 inch from the hardwood to here. If we were to do tile on top of this, you know, we would end up being at least a full inch difference, right? That's a toe stubber. So we try to keep our transitions as minimal as possible. So to keep people from getting hurt, to keep people from tripping, but also by having too much of a height difference in floors, it actually hurts the flow of the house. So we want to have as much of a transition as possible, and so exactly why we did this sticky tile rather than adding, you know, cement board, mortar, and tile on top of it, which would add almost a whole other inch to it. Okay. So in the kitchen, we're really just staying consistent with the rest of the house. So in here, again, we have the same exact tile that was in the bathroom, and we painted this. Okay, so and you can't hardly even tell. So this was just epoxied. Gave it a nice, really clear, clean finish. We're replacing all the switches to make those look new. I mean, you can see how old and dirty these old ones are. See a difference? This is why it's so necessary to replace your switches and outlets, because this alone gives it such a like new feel, such a low cost, it's such an easy thing to do. It definitely makes a difference. The countertop we're actually leaving. I didn't want to, but if we were to take out the countertop, it would have disrupted the backsplash. We would have had to find something to match better in the house, and you know, again, we're not trying to make it look like new. We're just trying to freshen it up so it looks clean. Okay, that's a big difference between doing a prehab and a rehab. All the cabinets are staying, right? We're actually leaving the hardware, which normally we wouldn't do, but because we're leaving the doors and the hardware on the doors, which is the brass, it's actually matching the hardware on the cabinets. So we're just leaving it. Again, normally we never do that, but in this case it makes sense because, again, we're after the flow, right? We want that flow in the house, and this allows that flow to happen. Let's see. Oh, appliances. So we are actually putting in new appliances. So we already have the new hood range. The rest of the appliances come on Tuesday, but we'll have a brand new range, brand new dishwasher. One reason we did that is because the old dishwasher was leaking, and And again, even though it's a prehab, we still want things to match, right? We still want as much flow as we can have in the house, and we want as little maintenance issues for the buyer as possible. So we certainly don't want to provide them with old, clunky appliances that are going to cause them a problem. By having new appliances, they might be able to say to themselves, well, hey, if we're getting the house at the right price, like we can upgrade the countertop and the sink and stuff like that at a later date, but at least we have all the working appliances, our mechanicals are in good shape, the roof is good, all that stuff. So it takes out the potential problems for the buyer. Okay, let's see, let's go downstairs. Down here, this was completely, well, you can even tell where it went up to, right where that divider is. So this had a big, huge vinyl sheet on it going all the way down the floor that was in bad condition. It really dated the house. So we just pulled all that out. And what we're doing in this room is we'll go through and we'll just repaint all the walls a nice bright white. And then we're going to paint all the floors a nice slate gray, which gives it a really clean feel. Okay. And then the basement, we have a bedroom in there, and then we have the living room here, which we're going to be consistent with this as we were upstairs. So all the walls are going to get, the beigeish gray wall paint. All the doors, all the base trim stays, and then we're just going to paint the floor. So this is how we saved almost a couple $1,000s worth of cost. Is we were going to carpet this basement, okay, which would probably even give it a little bit more of a finished feel, but I don't think we'd get any of the money back on it. So instead, as you can see where these squares were, so this was like the old kind of like, I think it was the asbestos 8-inch tile. So we actually dug all these up, and we're just going to paint this floor gray. So, but it still gives them, a huge living room, basement living room, and bedroom of finished space where a buyer can come down here and put their own area rug or something like that, or they can request carpeting and we can fit it into the costs. So that's one way we saved almost a couple $1,000s, and by just this little bit of demo and the basement floor paint, it's going to cost us a couple $100s. So pretty huge savings that probably isn't going to get us any kind of return one way or the other. One more thing is that we didn't do anything on the ceiling. So this is like the 12-inch, it's kind of like an old, I don't even know what material it's made of, like styrofoam or something like that. We didn't do that simply because it's all intact, right? It's all in great shape. Now, when it comes to knowing when to leave some of the stuff, some of it's just market awareness, and knowing kind of what else is out there on the market and what the buyers are going to be okay with, right? If they're like the ceiling, buyers probably aren't going to say, well, we don't want the house because it has a ceiling on it. Like this versus drywall, it doesn't make that big a difference. But being able to have this house $15,000 under price compared to if it were all finished, that does make a difference because now it's more attractive to a different buyer pool. Okay, and that's where we really have to pay attention is if we can pull in a different buyer pool that normally couldn't get this type of house, they're willing to give up some stuff because of that, right? Because they want the area, they want the house, they want this nice big brick ranch. Whereas they wouldn't have been able to get this otherwise if we would have came in and done everything, because then we would have taken this, we will be selling this house for probably mid 130s. If we would have done everything to it, we probably would have been selling it for mid 150s. So there's a $20,000 price difference simply by not doing everything to the house. And the thing is that the return on investment is even better for us to do a prehab versus doing a full rehab to it. So I hope that makes sense. That's really and that was at the base of it, that was our decision, is it's a better return on our money to do a prehab. Okay, so I think we're getting a 24% return on it doing it this way. If we were to do a full rehab on it and sell it for as high as we possibly could, we're actually looking at closer to an 18%. So we're getting a much better return, and we're appealing to a different buyer pool that's gonna be that much more interested in the property because it's cheaper. All right, guys, so This is the outside of the house, obviously. This is one of the reasons again, another reason we decided to do a prehab is the exterior of it is in really good shape. About the only thing that really could be done to it is if we were to replace the windows and maybe a newer front door. But other than that, it's a newer roof. It's it's a brick house, fantastic condition. The landscaping is okay to keep. So the exterior just didn't really need any money spent on it. So it helped us again decide, well, let's just keep the inside kind of consistent with the outside. So guys, if you are interested, feel free to go over to flippingfastlane.com. We are working on building a free 6-week course for you to where you can learn the ins and outs of this business and how it works, so that you can better do this in your own market, make more money, have more fun. Flippingfastlane.com. See you then.